Hi, my name is Sheryl Ambers. I'm speech language pathologist with Jewish Family Service, and I hope you and your families are doing well. And thank you for joining me today as we talk about how you can use this time to help your young child improve his or her communication skills. So today we're going to talk roughly about children between the ages of 1 and 3, but since children develop their communication at their own levels, this really could be anywhere. You might have a child who can use some of these tips at 6 months, and some of these children might be able to use some of these ideas at the age of 4. So you know your child best, and I'm sure you can adapt in a way that would benefit your child in the best way. So let's begin. When your child is 1, your child should have one word. His first word should appear around that 12th birthday. And a word is something that your child uses only for a particular item or person. So for example, if your child says ba, and your child says ba for mom, for dad, for dog, for book, then it's not a word. It's just an utterance your child is making when he or she wants something. But if your child only says ba to refer to the dog, then it does count as a word, and your child does have a word. So what if your child is 1 and hasn't gotten that first word yet? Or what if your child is older than 1 and you're thinking, how can I add more words to his repertoire? Well, the first thing that I suggest to parents is that they're going to have to consider themselves to be an ad agency. And what I mean by that is when you have an ad, you need to put the name of the product in the ad about 5 times, right? And so that's what you're going to do now. You're going to need to start bombarding your child with a word to help them start to put that word into his or her repertoire. For example, let's go with the word book. Okay, but what you would want to do is pick a word that is of interest to your child. So my oldest daughter was very interested in books. It was her first word, and she is currently an English major in college. So it does pay to follow their lead, and that's very, very important with children. So figure out what it is that's really important to your child, and let's use that word first in our so-called ad campaign. So we're going to go with book for now. So let's say that you're looking for the book. Your child wants a book. So what you're going to do is say something like, oh, you want a book. I'll go find the book. Where is the book? Oh, here's the book. Let's open the book. Can you open the book? Let's read the book. Any of those, all of them would be helpful. Another thing you might want to employ in your household is what I call a hunting tune. And a hunting tune is a tune you use when you are looking for something. And this is a great way to grow vocabulary because you're getting tons and tons of repetitions and it's fun. So let's say you're looking for the book. What you would want to do is put the book in a place where it usually wouldn't be so you can pretend that you honestly can't find it and say, oh, where's the book? You know, book, book. We're looking for the book, book, book. Where is the book? So you're learning about question words, you're learning the word, and you can have fun with it. And you can use that for anything. You know, later you might want to use fork or shoes. You might want to pair it later and be looking for the big pencil or, you know, whatever it is they're looking for. So you can pair things together and you're getting lots of repetition. But at this stage of the game, we're looking at one simple word at a time to build vocabulary. We have a lot more time now, and because we have more time, we can use it to the advantage of our children. So for example, things that we did before that were more likely done in a more strictly functional manner, for example, snack time or baths or the changing table, can now be great times for learning communication. For example, at snack time, not only can you have a target word, a particular snack your child likes, but we could also throw in a couple of signs that are very helpful, like more. Always pair it with the word, even though you're using the sign. And all done or finished. And those are great signs to help, especially with a child who's getting frustrated. Because if you have a child who's sitting in a high chair and let's say they want more, but you think they're finished, you think, oh, he's fussy, he's tired, he's done, and you start picking that child up out of the high chair, he's really going to get mad if what he was really telling you was, I want more Cheerios. So if you start to ask him, do you want more, and teach him more, then he can start to get his needs met, and he also will intrinsically feel the value of communication, how successful it is to get what he wants. Equally as important is when he's had enough. All done. And more and all done can be used at activities, when you're tickling, when you're playing peekaboo, bath time, maybe outside playing. It helps him tell you when he's had enough or when he wants more of something, and that can be really helpful. The bath is a great time to learn about body parts, right? You're washing them, you're touching them. It's a wonderful time to really, really start to have those body parts. You can have him point to his arm, you can label his arm, hopefully eventually he'll tell you his arm, and that could be a lot of fun. Also some other terms like wet and dry, clean and dirty. Clean and dirty is also very helpful on the changing table. Right? And the changing table is ideal because, let's face it, you have a captive audience, right? Your baby's just lying on their back looking up at you. So it's a wonderful time to work on body parts. It's a wonderful time to sing songs. Again, clean and dirty comes in handy, and you can really, really use those moments to learn a lot. Okay. And with songs, I just want to add that one of the wonderful things about songs is you can have them fill in a word if you have a target word. And as their repertoire grows, the nice thing about songs is you have to put something on every beat. So all those little words that we use, like the, and, those will go on a beat to keep the song going. Also, suffixes will go on there to keep the beat going. So music is a great way to scaffold language in a lot of ways. And the third area that we're going to touch upon, which I'm going to touch upon with each age group, is books, because books are a wonderful way to develop communication. So if you're working at the word level, you want to start with books that are at the word level. So here we have a book, I can say apple, and on each page you have a child with one word, okay? And that is a wonderful way to start to learn about single words because you have the picture paired with it. We talked before about finding things that your child is interested in. Children are also drawn to different types of books. So my oldest daughter, she loved children books. She loved books that had children on it. My next child, animals. She loved the baby animals on it. This book is a fun book because this book has verbs in it. So it has all different verbs, different actions to give names to actions, which is very, very helpful. Another thing children like to do with books is they want to read with you, right? They want to be a part of it. And the best way to do that is with repetitive books. This book is called Uh-Oh, and most children can say uh-oh. The nice thing about this book is that it is repetitive. So you have a little girl, she has a balloon, she fills it all the way up, and uh-oh. And that's what happens every time you're about to pick up the flap, and the children really enjoy that. If you're looking at body parts, we have a very simple book called Show Me. It's a lot of fun. It's a very nurturing way to learn about body parts and have fun with it. And a lot of learning with books has to do with your voice and your presentation. So if you have a book like this, you want to have, show me your nose. Is that where it grows? I'm gonna nuzzle that nose. And then you can play and have fun with it. And this is the kind of book that once you read it several times, you will know it by heart. You can do part of it on the changing table and have a really good time with it. Now, children are home, and so they are around adults and older children for the most part. And so for many children, it's fun for them to see people that look like them. So these types of photograph books are a lot of fun. You can go through it. It has children doing all different things. You can see in there, they're messy. At the end of the book, there's kind of a summary of all the different things, dirt, paints, and you can ask your young child to point to it. They don't have to say it. You can ask them to point. Point to the paint baby. Point to the baby who has soap. And then later they can learn to say those words too, which could be a lot of fun. Another wonderful thing about books for young children is the tactile books. Now, even though these young children may not be counting yet, they can still enjoy the way the different textures feel on the books, and that gives them some more vocabulary, and it also stimulates them to have different textures to feel. You might notice too that a lot of these books for young children are board books. They're very solid. That is because young children do still learn and explore their worlds using their mouths. So not so great at this time in history. Keep your books really, really clean because they do naturally do that. So do make sure that you keep your books very, very clean. Okay. So we have the 2-year-olds, and we did end with the 1-year-olds with a counting book. 2-year-olds do love counting books. And if you have a counting book that can be musical, that can be a lot of fun for them, like 5 Little Monkeys. But the important thing to know about 2-year-olds is that 2-year-olds are putting 2 words together. So now we're branching out from just nouns pretty much to adding verbs and adjectives. So we have a fast car, a big dog, my ball, go out, and doing all different combinations. At 2, they're also learning other concepts, right? They're learning their colors. If your child's having some trouble with their colors, immerse them in their colors. Make 1 week whatever color they might seem that they're particularly interested in, maybe red. So everybody dresses in red. You might have some red snacks, look for the red toys, look for books that have red on the cover, anything to immerse them in red. Probably don't want to wear all your red clothes in one day, so you can stretch it out over several days, maybe a red shirt, red socks, something to keep the fun going for them. But that should be a lot of fun. And also songs with colors. We have a book here, Mary Wore Her Red Dress. So this is a color book, but it's also a song. And what's nice about books that are songs is you can sing them when you go on walks, when you're playing, when you see something red. So this one, you can see what's nice about it is the only color on the page is the red that they're singing about. So this has Mary wore her red dress, red dress, red dress. Mary wore her red dress all day long. And it goes through each color, and it's a lot of fun for them. They enjoy that. Concept books for 2-year-olds. Find books that are made differently, that look different. So you have a tall book, and it's full of things that are tall. It increases the vocabulary, and it also helps building some of those concepts. Back on colors, you can never go wrong with Brown Bear, Brown Bear. But one of the fun things you can do with your 2-year-olds is, as they've read this book many, many, many times, you can start to do some predicting with them. So if you have yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue, and see if they remember that it's a horse looking at me. So you can start to approach books in a different way. Another Eric Carle book, great for colors and counting, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Maybe your child likes the spot books. They're very, very simple. Okay. And one thing you can do when your child is very young, for this you might just say blue and then turn the page. You don't have to read the whole book. Adapt the book to your child's level. Then you can always pick it up a month later and it's like a brand new book because all of a sudden you have all these new words. And if you find that your child picks out a book that has lovely illustrations that he or she really likes, and maybe you need to adapt it a little bit, I strongly recommend that you use Post-it notes. Rewrite your story, make it very simple on Post-it notes, and stick the Post-it notes in the book. The reason you need the Post-it notes is so that if someone else is reading the story, it is the exact same story. Later, as your child gets a little bit older, you take the Post-it notes off and voila, they have a brand new book and it's now at the appropriate level for them. So that's a lot of fun. Before we talked about the uh-oh book being repetitive, and now we have a book for them when they're a little bit older. This book is called No, No, Joe, and that would be the repetitive phrase in it. So you have a story, and here you have the little girl, and the story has that she and her brother are painting, and then, no, no, Joe, he runs through the paint, and the children know that every time you pick up the flap, that they are going to get to say that fun phrase. Now these books, these are the Harper Growing Tree books. Sometimes I have parents say, I don't really know what age, for what books. These books give you a great guideline because they tell you the age right there on the spine of the book. On the back you can see is the code for all of the age groups that they write books for. So that should help you when you're looking or maybe now ordering books online. Another fun book from that same series, that book was for a 2-year-old. This book, it says for 2.5-year-olds. This book, I Like a Snack on an Iceberg. Now we're looking at the concept of where. So we're introducing a new concept, and it tells about where all these different animals like to eat their snacks. So that's a fun book for them to learn with, and they have a good time with that. Now, 3-year-olds. 3-year-olds, I say it's definitely time for the classics. But what you do need to know about 3-year-olds is that 3-year-olds are speaking in sentences and they should be understood by strangers. Strangers are people who are not in your family or the classroom teacher, maybe a friend that you're introducing your child to, or even someone your child hasn't seen in a long time can fall into that category. So it doesn't mean that your child says every sound perfectly, but it does mean that they're clearly understood. So if you have a child that says he drew a picture of a wet wabbit, we know what they're saying, right? They're not saying the R correctly, but we do know what they're saying. If your child is speaking and is not very intelligible, people are not understanding what he says, at 3, that would be a good time for you to call and talk to a speech language pathologist and see if maybe an evaluation would be a good idea for your child. So we want to start with the classics for 3-year-olds. The classics being, I call them the classics, the classics being like the 3 Little Pigs, the 3 Bears, the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. They have a repetition to them that they can join in. They start to be able to memorize the story. And now that you have all this time at home, you can even act it out, right? You can build a bridge. Nothing, architecturally challenging. It could be a set of pillows lined up and have your child walk across and be the different goats and just have a lot of fun with it. And doing the story is a great way of learning the story, being able to tell the story, and just really immersing themselves in it. So it's a lot of fun. Also, question word stories that are repetitive are fun. Books like Are You My Mother? Or a book like Do Princesses Wear Hiking Boots? Again, repetitive with the question. And finally, another repetitive book that's good for this age is King Bidgood's in the Bathtub. So we've gone from uh-oh to no, no, Joe to King Bidgood's in the bathtub and he won't get out. Oh, who knows what to do? And they have a very good time with it. Before I leave you, I want to make one more give you one more bit of information about books. So the books that we've been talking about are all for a purpose. They're all for helping communication, all for building language. But that's not to say that other books should be left aside. Even though you're working on the single word book with a 1-year-old, still take out those beautiful stories that you can read with young children and read the stories to them. They make wonderful bedtime stories. They make wonderful snuggle stories. They are rich in language, rich in illustrations, and the time close with you is very, very special. These books are for learning. These are the books that are not the bedtime stories. These are the I'm wide awake and I'm going to learn this stuff kind of stories and have fun with it in a different way. So you have different books used for different things. And I hope that this gave you some information about how you can use this extra time to work with your roughly 1 to 3-year-old. I wish you well. Thank you.